Hey guys, tonight we begin not with a philosopher or a conqueror, but with a plant that's been confusing, healing, and mildly annoying governments for thousands of years. Cannabis. Imagine yourself crouched beside a flickering campfire in the endless Siberian tundra, the wind howling like it's got a personal grudge, and you're just trying to stay warm without freezing your toes off. You toss a handful of dried leaves and seeds onto the flames because, well, why not? They crackle, pop, and suddenly the air fills with this sweet, earthy smoke that wraps around you like a blanket you didn't know you needed. Your head spins, the stars above start doing cartwheels, and for the first time in your short, brutal Stone Age life, the mammoth hunt tomorrow doesn't seem so bad. You probably won't survive this accidental experiment without giggling at a rock for an hour, but hey, welcome to humanity's oldest love-hate relationship with a weed. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're back there now, roughly 5000 BC, the Stone Age in full swing, emphasis on stone because metal's still a pipe dream, and civilizations basically in beta testing with bugs the size of saber-toothed tigers. People are inventing pottery that leaks, domesticating animals that bite back, and dying from things like standing too close to a mosquito, carrying a grudge. Somewhere in what's now Siberia, you're that forager, bundled in furs, stitched together with sinew, your breath fogging the air as you huddle near the fire pit you dug with a sharpened reindeer antler. The night's so cold, your eyelashes crunch when you blink, and you've got a pile of gathered plants beside you, berries that might poison you, roots that taste like regret, and these weird, fibrous stalks with seeds that look like tiny brains. Cannabis, though no one's named it yet. You strip the leaves, toss the seeds into the flames for a quick roast because calories are calories, and watch the fibers curl and blacken. The smoke rises, thick and resinous, catching in your throat at first, like you've inhaled a pine tree's bad mood, but then it hits. Your lungs expand, the world softens at the edges, and suddenly the crackling fire sounds like it's whispering secrets. You lean back on your haunches, staring up at the aurora borealis, dancing green and purple overhead, and forget why you even went outside. Was it to pee? Hunt? Escape the cave's snoring symphony? Doesn't matter now. Your companions, let's call them Grunt and Uga, for flair, notice too. Grunt takes a cautious whiff, his bushy eyebrows shooting up like they're trying to escape his face. Uga laughs, a deep belly rumble that echoes across the frozen plain, and pokes at the fire with a stick, sending more sparks and smoke billowing into the night. Archaeologists, much later, picture them in khaki shorts, brushing dirt from relics with toothbrushes, find cannabis seeds in ancient burial sites across Eurasia, from Siberia to the steppes. These aren't random toss-ins. Someone valued this plant enough to pack it for the afterlife, like a prehistoric, "don't bury me without my stash" directive. You're witnessing the birth of that tradition. Maybe your group's shaman, a wiry elder with bone necklaces clinking like wind chimes, decides the smoke carries spirits. He inhales deeply, eyes rolling back, and declares the gods have upgraded everyone's vision. Historians still argue whether these early burials indicate ritual use or just practical packing. Were the seeds food for the journey or fuel for an eternal high? Either way, given human nature, probably both. You bury your dead wrapped in hemp fibers, seeds tucked into pouches, because who knows what the underworld menu looks like. At first, cannabis isn't about good vibes or deep thoughts. It's survival in a world where winter lasts 9 months and summer's a rumor. You strip the stalks for fibers, tough, flexible, perfect for twisting into ropes that lash together your raft for crossing icy rivers swollen with meltwater. The ropes hold when you haul mammoth carcasses back to camp, your muscles screaming, but the cordage unyielding. You weave the fibers into clothes, rough at first, scratching like a bad decision, but warmer than naked skin against the wind. Pound the stems into a pulp, and you've got early textiles for sacks to carry those edible seeds, nutty, oily, a calorie bomb when game's scarce. The plant's basically nature's Swiss Army knife. Sail with it when you finally figure out boats. Tie things with it so your shelter doesn't collapse in a blizzard. Wear it to avoid frostbite. And if you accidentally smoke it, suddenly the clouds look like giggling faces. You're one of the first to inhale on purpose, though purpose is generous. Curiosity's the real driver. No one explains the racing heart, the dry mouth, the way time stretches like taffy. No snacks to raid. Forget Doritos. You're lucky if there's fermented mare's milk. And definitely no Bob Marley strumming reassurance. Just raw confusion. A deep stare off with a tree that isn't talking back. And the dawning realization that this plant does something wild to your brain. Early humans like you don't think I'm high. You think the ancestors just dialed up the world's resolution. Colors pop, hunger gnaws, then vanishes. Pain from that sprained ankle dulls to a whisper. You stumble back to the cave, grinning like an idiot, while your tribe eyes you suspiciously. Is he possessed? Blessed? Both? Word spreads slower than glacial melt, but it spreads. Neighboring groups trade seeds, fibers, stories. You barter a bundle of cannabis stalks for obsidian tools, not knowing you're kickstarting a global economy. By 4000 BC, you're in the Yangtze River Valley. Warmer, wetter, rice paddies terraced into hills like green staircases. Farmers here domesticate cannabis deliberately, selecting for taller stalks, fatter seeds. You're knee-deep in mud, planting rows that'll become cordage for fishing nets, hauling carp from the river. The nets don't rot in the humidity. Hemp laughs at decay. You press seeds for oil that lights clay lamps through long nights of storytelling around communal fires. Fast forward a bit, still prehistory, but you're in the Fertile Crescent now, where someone's inventing the wheel, and you're using hemp ropes to drag stones for the first ziggurats. The plant's everywhere, unassuming, useful. You tie bundles of reeds for roofs, lash plows to oxen, even twist finer threads for burial shrouds. Seeds get ground into flour when wheat crops fail. Bitter, but it keeps bellies full. And always, that accidental smoke, a harvest celebration. You burn the chaff, inhale the haze, dance under the moon until your feet bleed. No one calls it recreational. It's communal, spiritual, a way to touch the divine without a priest's permission. You trek westward with migrating herds, cannabis seeds rattling in your pouch like lucky charms. By 3000 BC, you're in the Indus Valley, where proto-cities rise with brick streets and drainage systems that shame modern plumbing. Hemp grows wild along riverbanks. You harvest it for sales on reed boats, trading lapis lazuli down to the sea. The smoke finds its way into early Vedic rituals, though that's jumping ahead a tad. For now, it's practical magic. You chew leaves for toothaches, brew teas for belly cramps after bad water. The plant heals as it binds, feeds as it clothes. Picture a quirky tidbit. In some Siberian sites, pollen analysis shows cannabis thriving near human settlements 10,000 years ago, before agriculture proper. Were we following the plant, or was it following us? Fringe theorists whisper of shamanic selection, breeding for psychoactivity eons before we knew genetics. Mainstream fact, the oldest known cannabis artifact is a 2,700-year-old stash from the Tarim Basin, 800 grams of ground buds, still potent with THC, buried with a blue-eyed Caucasian mummy who looked suspiciously chill in death. You're that mummy's ancestor, experimenting. One night, storm raging, lightning cracking, like the skies splitting open. You huddle in a skin tent. The fire's low, You feed it cannabis scraps. Smoke fills the space. Thick as fog, your mind wanders. Visions of stampeding herds, ancestors waving from starry plains. You emerge at dawn, eyes red, proclaiming prophecy. The tribe listens. Cannabis isn't just a tool, it's a bridge. Historians still argue whether early use was purely utilitarian or if altered states shaped religion from the start. You don't care. You're alive, warm, and the world feels bigger. Millennia blur. You're in Central Asia, 2500 BC, herding sheep across grasslands vast as oceans. Cannabis grows wild in ditches. You collect it for horse feed. Animals munch seeds. Stay calm during branding. Fibers become saddle girths, tent ropes. Smoke reserved for elders during solstice rites. You pass a pipe carved from bone, inhaling until the step spins. Laughter echoes. Stories flow. No paranoia yet. That's civilization's gift. By 2000 BC, you're trading along Proto-Silk Road paths. Caravans carry hemp cloth from China to Mesopotamia. You barter in bazaars, smelling of cumin and camel sweat. A merchant offers cannabis incense. You burn it in clay braziers, watching smoke curl like gin. It eases rheumatism from long rides, sparks ideas for better wagons. The plant's conquering without armies. You sail rudimentary boats across the Mediterranean, Egypt-bound, hemp sails billowing, seeds spill into soil, groves sprout, priests note the plant's versatility, brew it into beer for workers building pyramids. You're one of those workers, guzzling frothy cannabis ale after hauling limestone under a sun that cooks brains. The buzz makes 12-hour shifts bearable. Songs rise, crude but heartfelt. Back east, you're a steppe warrior, 1500 BC, cannabis in your quiver, not arrows, but resin balls for slings. No, wait, quirky fact. Some nomads used hemp seed oil to polish bronze weapons, making them gleam and resist rust. You smear it on, inhale fumes accidentally, charge into battle, seeing enemies as shadows. Victory tastes sweeter. Light joke time. Imagine explaining munchies to a Neanderthal cousin. No, ugh. The plant didn't steal the mammoth. You just ate it all while staring at the moon. You're a woman now, weaving hemp into bridal veils in a Balkan village. The fibers symbolize fertility. Strong bonds, many children. You smoke a pinch before the ceremony. Nerves vanish. Vows flow poetic. Historians debate if matriarchal cults used cannabis for goddess communion. Fringe, pollen in ancient goddess figurines, suggests ritual inhalation. The plant spreads like gossip. You're in Europe's bogs, 1000 BC, preserving butter in peat near hemp fields. Seeds mix in, accidental edibles for the Iron Age. You fish with hemp nets, trap birds in hemp snares, smoke during funerals, ease grief, honor dead, burial boats stocked with cannabis for Valhalla's voyage. Another joke. Early humans cultivating cannabis. We wanted rope, but got philosophy instead. Best mistake ever. You're an elder, passing knowledge. Burn the leaves sparingly. You warn younglings wide-eyed around the fire. Spirits speak, but they ramble. They nod, inhale, ramble anyway. The cycle continues. Mainstream fact. Cannabis sativa's domestication traces to Central Asia around 12,000 years ago, predating ceramics. You're ground zero. By 800 BC, you're in Assyria. Palace gardens blooming hemp for royal robes. King Ashurbanipal's library, clay tablets, mentions Quanabu for joy and medicine. You're a scribe, dipping reed in ink on hemp paper prototype. Head fuzzy from incense. The accidental puff evolves. You intentionally char seeds on hot stones. Tent sealed, sweat lodge style. Emerge reborn, ideas flowing. Poetry's born. Crude rhymes about stars and hunger. Joke 3. Stone Age wellness retreat. Smoke, sweat, repeat. No yoga pants required. You trudge on, plant in tow. From Siberia's sparks to global ember, cannabis outsmarts us. We cultivate, Worship, outlaw, inhale, often simultaneously. Humanity's oldest sidekick, confusing governments before governments existed. You're no longer shivering on the Siberian tundra. The air is humid now, thick with the scent of wet earth and blooming lotus as you kneel in a terraced field along the Yellow River, 2700 BCE. Your hands are caked in mud, fingernails split from planting rice shoots. But today, you're harvesting something else. Tall, swaying cannabis stalks that tower over you like green sentinels. The sun beats down, cicadas screaming in the reeds, and you wipe sweat from your brow with the hem of your coarse hemp tunic. Yes, the same plant you're cutting. Emperor Shen Nung, the divine farmer, is watching from a silk canopied litter carried by 6 attendants, his long beard fluttering like a banner. He's taste testing everything today, and you're about to hand him destiny in a leaf. Shen Nung isn't just a ruler. He's a walking clinical trial with zero ethics board. Legend says he has a transparent stomach, convenient for seeing how herbs react. So every bite, brew, or burn is documented by scribes scribbling on bamboo slips. You bow low, offering a bundle of fresh cannabis, leaves veined like dragon wings, seeds plump as pearls, fibers already peeling from the stalk in anticipation of rope. He plucks a leaf, chews thoughtfully, then nods. Good for pain, gout, rheumatism, and absent-mindedness, he declares. The scribes scratch furiously. You stifle a smirk. Absent-mindedness? That's rich, considering the emperor just forgot where he parked his litter. This is ancient China, inventing everything. Paper, silk, bureaucracy, and now the world's first 5-star Yelp review for getting high. Except it's strictly medicinal. You're not rolling blunts or passing joints. You're brewing tonics in clay pots that bubble like witches' cauldrons. Crush the leaves. Simmer with ginger and licorice root. Strain through hemp cloth. Voila! Wind in the bones elixir. It tastes like lawn clippings, steeped in regret, but it works. Your grandmother swears it calmed her arthritis enough to weave 3 extra baskets before sunset. You drink it for menstrual cramps, watching the pain melt like spring snow. The emperor's physicians nod sagely. Cannabis balances yin and yang, which is ancient code, for it chills you out without killing you. Most of the time. By now, hemp is everywhere. Your tunic, your fishing net, the scroll you're copying tax records onto. Entire towns are built from the stuff. You live in a hemp house. Walls of woven stalks, plastered with mud, roof thatched with fibers, door hinged on hemp rope that creaks like an old man's knees. Your bed? Hemp-stuffed mattress. Your shoes? Hemp sandals that last longer than your last relationship. You could spend your whole life wrapped in cannabis and never notice until you do, because someone always burns the chaff at harvest. The village fills with sweet smoke, children giggle, dogs bark at shadows, and the local poet composes odes to clouds that look suspiciously like dragons doing cartwheels. Shen Nung's Pen Sao Ching, the world's first pharmacopoeia, reads like a stoner's grocery list. Cannabis. Prolonged consumption frees the spirit and lightens the body. Translation: you'll forget where you left the plow, but you'll float to find it. Doctors take it seriously. You visit the apothecary, a dim shop smelling of ginseng and despair, and he measures dried buds with bronze scales. 2 kian for malaria, 3 for melancholy, he mutters, wrapping your dose in what else? Hemp paper. You brew it at home, the steam curling like incense, and suddenly the tax collector's visit tomorrow doesn't sting as much. Mainstream fact: the Pentazao Qing, compiled around 100 CE, but attributed to Shen Nung, is the oldest known herbal text, and cannabis is listed under superior herbs that can be taken long-term without harm. You're living proof. Your great-grandfather drank cannabis tea daily and died at 92, still sharp enough to cheat at Liubo. But let's talk quirky. In 2008, archaeologists found a 2,700-year-old tomb in the Yanghai Desert with a leather basket containing 789 grams of cannabis, still green, still psychoactive. The shaman buried with it had blue eyes and red hair, suggesting Scythian trade, but the buds were cultivated, not wild. You're holding that basket now, running fingers over resinous heads that smell like pine and rebellion. Historians still argue whether it was medicine, ritual, or the world's oldest stash for the afterlife party. You're a farmer, 2600 BCE, threshing cannabis on a stone floor. Seeds fly, fibers separate, and you sing work songs that sound suspiciously like modern reggae. Rhythm born from pounding stalks, the fibers go to the rope maker, who twists them into cords strong enough to haul boulders for the emperor's palace. The seeds, pressed for oil that lights your clay lamp as you stitch a new sail. The leaves, dried, powdered, mixed into poultices for your neighbor's gouty foot that smells like death. Everything loops back to the plant. Light joke 1. Shen Nung taste tests poison ivy. Spicy, he says, before his scribe's note, do not repeat. You're a merchant now, caravanning hemp cloth to the Wei River Valley. Bandits eye your load, but the ropes binding it are so tough, they give up and ask for a job instead. You trade bolts of fabric for bronze mirrors, salt, jade. One buyer, a noble woman with painted brows, whispers she needs cannabis for female troubles. You slip her a pouch of seeds. Plant these, you mouth. She winks. Court intrigue begins with a seedling. By 2500 BCE, you're in a palace garden where cannabis grows in neat rows beside mulberry trees for silk. The emperor's concubines bathe in hemp seed oil. Their skin glows like moonlight. You're the gardener, pruning stalks, inhaling the terpenes that make your head swim. One concubine offers you a rice cake, laced with cannabis butter. You eat, float through the afternoon trimming leaves that look like tiny hands waving. The Chinese don't smoke yet, that's later, but they burn. You're at a funeral, 2400 BCE. The deceased, a general, lies on a bier wrapped in hemp shroud. Brahmins, wait, no, Taoist precursors, toss cannabis tops onto braziers. Smoke billows. Mourners inhale. Grief softens. You see the general's spirit riding a dragon into the sky. Or maybe that's the THC. Either way, catharsis achieved. Joke 2. Doctor, I have rheumatism. Take cannabis, but I'll forget my pain. Exactly. You're a scribe, 2300 BCE, copying medical texts on hemp paper. Yes, the Chinese invented centuries before Kai Lun gets credit. Your ink is soot and glue. Your brush, wolf hair. The scroll smells faintly herbal. You write, Ma Ren, cannabis fruit, treats blood deficiency. Your hand cramps. You chew a seed for relief. Productivity spikes. Historians still argue whether Shen Nung was real or myth. Some say he's a composite of early agronomists. But the plant's impact isn't legend. By 2000 BCE, hemp ropes more junks on the Yangtze. Sails catch wind to trade cowrie shells. You're a boatman, coiling rope thick as your arm, humming as the fibers bite into your palms. The rope doesn't rot in salt water. Unlike your last marriage, you're a mother, 2200 BCE, grinding seeds into porridge for your kids. They complain it's bitter. You add honey and a dash of cannabis leaf for health. They sleep like stones, dream of flying. You smile. Parenting hack, ancient edition. Quirk. Han Dynasty texts describe cannabis as giving one the ability to see ghosts. You test it during the Ghost Festival. Lanterns float on the river. You inhale smoke from a bronze brazier. Shadows dance. Figure waves. Your late husband or the neighbor's laundry. You wave back. Connection made. You're a soldier, 2100 BCE, marching to quell rebels. Your armor padding? Hemp. Your bowstring? Hemp. Waxed with seed oil. Your rations include cannabis cakes. Energy plus calm under fire. You loose arrows. Steady despite the chaos. The enemy breaks. You credit the plant. Joke 3. Why did the emperor cross the road? To get to the other hemp field. By 1800 BCE, you're in a temple where priests burn cannabis incense to commune with ancestors. The smoke spirals toward heaven. You kneel, eyes watering, seeing your grandmother's face in the haze. She nods approval. You promise to plant more next season. The plant funds armies, taxes paid in hemp cloth. You're a weaver, fingers flying on a backstrap loom, producing bolts for the emperor's tribute. Each bolt buys a spear, a horse, a border wall. Your sweat literally defends the realm. You're old now, joints creaking like bamboo in wind. Your daughter brews cannabis tea nightly. You sip, pain ebbs, memories flood. Shenlong's nod. The first rope you twisted, the child you lost to fever, but eased with leaf poultice. The plant carried you through. Mainstream fact. The world's oldest paper, from 100 BCE, is hemp-based, found in a hand tomb. You wrote love letters on it, folded into tiny squares, slipped under doors. You're a poet. 1700 BCE, high on inspiration. Cannabis loosens your tongue. Verses flow about rivers, lovers, the plant itself. Green maiden, bind my heart with your threads, lift my spirit on your smoke. Court ladies swoon. The emperor grants you a title. You name your estate. Hemp Haven. The cycle turns. You plant, harvest, use, honor. Cannabis isn't a vice. It's infrastructure. From Shenlong's first chew to your final sip. It's the quiet constant in China's rise. And somewhere, a scribe notes, the divine farmer smiled upon the useful weed. You smile too, drifting into sleep. The world balanced, just for tonight. You're crouched low on the windswept Eurasian steppe, 1000 BCE. The grass so tall, it tickles your horse's belly as you ride. The air smells of dust, horse sweat, and something sharper. Burning cannabis seeds hissing on red-hot stones inside a felt tent ahead. You're a Scythian warrior, tattoos swirling across your arms like storm clouds. Gold torque heavy around your neck, and you've just buried your brother beneath a kurgan the size of a small hill. Grief sits in your chest like a stone, but tonight the smoke will lift it. You duck through the low flap, the heat hitting you like a wall, and join the circle of mourners already swaying in the haze. This isn't incense, this is baptism by THC. The tent is sealed tight. No flaps, no vents, just wool walls dyed crimson and indigo. The floor strewn with horsehair rugs that stick to your boots. In the center, a bronze cauldron glows cherry red, piled with stones hauled from a riverbed. Your shaman, an old woman with one eye milky as moonstone, scoops a handful of cannabis seeds from a leather pouch and flings them onto the rocks. They crackle, pop, release a thick, sweet cloud that coils upward like a serpent. You breathe deep. The first hit is harsh, scraping your throat like sand, but the second is velvet. Your shoulders drop. The tent spins gently, as if the step itself is rocking you. Herodotus, that Greek busybody, traveling centuries later, will scribble about this exact ritual. The Scythians take some of this hemp seed, creep under the felt coverings, and throw it upon the red-hot stones. It smolders and sends up dense smoke. They howl with pleasure. You're howling now, a low guttural sound that rises with the others until the tent vibrates. Pleasure, that's too tame. This is release. Grief, rage, love for the dead, all funneled into one primal note. Your brother's face flickers in the smoke, his crooked grin, the scar above his eye from a Persian arrow. You reach out, the vision dissolves into laughter. Someone passes a golden cup of fermented mare's milk. You drink, the smoke and alcohol braiding together until the world feels soft as felt. This isn't casual. The Scythians treat death like a journey, and cannabis is the horse that carries the soul. You've spent days piling earth over the kurgan, layering it with your brother's favorite saddle, his iron sword, a string of amber beads. Now, in this sweat lodge of the living, you send him off properly. The shaman chants in a language older than words. Her voice weaving through the smoke, you see shapes, wolves with human eyes, eagles carrying riders skyward. Historians still argue whether these visions were purely chemical, or if the Scythians believed the smoke opened a literal door to the afterlife. You don't care about the debate. You're walking through that door. Mainstream fact. In 2006, archaeologists excavating a Scythian tomb in Mongolia found a 2,400-year-old leather pouch containing cannabis residue and a wooden brazier. Proof the ritual survived migration across 1,000 miles. You're holding that pouch now. The leather cracked, but still smelling faintly of resin. The seeds inside are tiny, perfect, cultivated for potency. Your people didn't stumble on this. You bred it, selected it, carried it in saddlebags from the Black Sea to the Altai. Quirky tidbit. The same tomb held a fur-lined rug, woven with scenes of horsemen smoking from golden vessels. Ancient stoner art, basically. You're sitting on a replica, the patterns under your thighs, showing a rider offering a pipe to a goddess. The goddess looks suspiciously like the shaman beside you. Light joke 1, Scythian grief counseling. 1 part burial mound, 2 parts hotbox. Results guaranteed. You're a young warrior, barely bearded, and this is your first smoke rite. The elders warned you. Hold it in until your ancestors speak. You do. Your lungs burn, then bloom. Suddenly your father, dead 5 winters, stands before you, nodding approval. You try to speak. Only a croak emerges. The circle laughs. Initiation complete. The tent is a crucible. Sweat pours down your back, mixing with the smoke that clings to your wool tunic. You strip to the waist, tattoos glistening. The designs tell your story. The wolf that saved you from a bear, the lightning strike that killed your first horse, the raid where you took your first scalp. Cannabis doesn't erase the pain, it translates it. The grief becomes a drumbeat, steady, survivable. You howl again, louder, and the sound carries outside, where the horses whinny in response. Outside, the steppe stretches endless, under a sky bruised purple with dusk. The kurgan looms, a dark hump against the horizon. You'll ride past it tomorrow, leave a bowl of kumis at its base. But tonight, you're tethered to it by smoke. The ritual isn't just for the dead, it's for the living. Your brother's widow sits across from you, eyes red from crying and smoke. She reaches out, touches your hand. The connection is wordless, electric. Later, under the stars, you'll lie together on a saddle blanket, the smoke still lingering in your hair. New life from old death, Scythian math. Joke 2, Scythian pickup line. Wanna share a tent and some ancestral visions? Works every time. You're the shaman now, decades later, your hair gone iron gray. You've led 100 of these rites, seen warriors weep, laugh, collapse, rise renewed. The golden bongs, yes, actual gold, hammered thin and etched with griffins, are your pride. You unearthed them from a royal tomb years ago, cleaned the ancient resin with mare's milk, and now they're the centerpiece of every funeral. You fill one with crushed buds, light it with a coal from the cauldron. The first draw is yours. The ancestors always speak clearest to the guide. Tonight, they show you a coming drought. A rival tribe's betrayal. You'll warn the chieftain at dawn. The smoke thickens. Someone starts drumming on a horsehide shield. Boom, boom, boom. Like a heartbeat. Feet stomp in rhythm. The tent becomes a womb. The smoke, the amniotic fluid of rebirth. You're all children again, unburdened. A warrior beside you vomits into a corner. Purification, not weakness. You pat his back, offer water. He grins, teeth white in the gloom. I saw my mother, he whispers. She forgave me. You nod. That's the point. Archaeologists will find these golden vessels centuries later, still flecked with cannabis residue, and argue over whether they were ceremonial or everyday. You know the truth. Everything is ceremonial when death is involved. The bongs pass hand to hand, each warrior taking a pull, exhaling into the collective cloud. The air is so dense, you can barely see the opposite side. Someone starts singing, a low, mournful tune about the endless grass and the riders who never truly die. Voices join, layering until the song is a living thing. Joke 3. Scythian Yelp Review. 5 stars. Lost my brother, found my soul. Smoke was chef's kiss. You're a horse archer, 900 BCE, and cannabis isn't just for funerals. Before a raid, you chew a resin ball the size of a quail's egg. It steadies your hands, sharpens your aim. You loose arrows at full gallop, the world slowing just enough to thread shafts between Persian shields. The enemy calls you demons. You call it good prep. After battle, you smoke again, this time to stitch wounds without flinching. A poultice of crushed leaves and mare's fat seals a gash on your thigh. The pain dulls. Infection never comes. Back in the tent, the rite peaks. The shaman throws a final handful of seeds. The smoke billows, white and fragrant. You're floating now, body heavy, mind light. The tent walls dissolve. You're riding across the sky on a horse made of cloud. Your brother waves from a distant ridge. You reach. Then the vision snaps. The tent is silent, the cauldron cooling. Dawn light seeps through a crack someone finally opened. You crawl out, reborn. The step crisp and new. The horses greet you with soft knickers. You mount bareback, the grass wet with dew. The kurgan stands sentinel. You touch your forehead to the earth, whisper thanks. The smoke lingers in your clothes, your hair, your blood. You'll carry it into battle, into love, into the next death. The cycle never ends. Mainstream fact. Scythian women fought alongside men. Herodotus called them man-killers. You're one of them. Bow slung across your back. Cannabis pouch at your belt. The smoke levels the field. Courage isn't gendered when the ancestors ride with you. You're old now, joints stiff from a lifetime of riding. The young ones ask for stories. You tell them of the tent, the howl, the golden bongs. They laugh, thinking it myth. You smile, teeth stained from decades of resin. Try it, you say, handing over a seed. Then tell me what's real. The step rolls on, unchanged. Kurgans dot the horizon like sleeping giants. Somewhere, a new tent seals, new stones glow, new seeds hiss. The smoke rises, carrying souls skyward. You ride past, inhaling the faint sweetness on the wind. Your brother's there, in the grass, in the sky, in every breath. The Scythians never truly die. They just change form, like smoke. You're barefoot on sun-warmed stone in a temple courtyard overlooking the Ganges. 1500 BCE, the river a silver ribbon glinting below. Monks in saffron robes chant in Sanskrit that rolls like thunder, and you're handed a clay cup brimming with thick, creamy bang. Milk, ghee, crushed cannabis leaves, almonds, cardamom, and a whisper of rosewater. It tastes like liquid dessert and forbidden knowledge. You drink deeply. the cool sweetness sliding down your throat, and within minutes the courtyard tilts gently, the lotus carvings on the pillars pulsing like living hearts. This isn't medicine or mourning. This is worship, and the god you're toasting is Shiva himself, the lord of Bihang, destroyer of ego, and dancer of cosmic chaos. The Atharva Veda, one of the 4 sacred Hindu texts, lists cannabis among the 5 holy plants that release us from anxiety. You're living that verse. The priest beside you, his forehead smeared with ash, raises his cup and intones, Bhang is the joy of Shiva, the liberator of sin. You nod, already feeling lighter, as if the river's current is flowing through your veins. Around you, devotees sway, some chanting, some laughing, some simply staring at the sky, where clouds morph into peacocks and elephants. A child tugs your dhoti, offering a laddu laced with the same green magic. You take it, bite, and the sweetness explodes into stars behind your eyes. This is Maha Shivaratri, the great night of Shiva, and the temple is a riot of devotion and delirium. Drums thunder, bells clang, and somewhere a sitar plucks notes that vibrate in your bones. You join the circle dance, feet stamping in rhythm, sweat mingling with sandalwood paste. The bhang loosens your limbs. You spin until the world blurs into gold and green. Shiva's statue looms at the center, blue-skinned, serene, a crescent moon in his hair, and you swear he winks. Historians still argue whether the Vedas meant literal cannabis or a metaphor for spiritual intoxication. You're not debating theology. You're living it, one sip at a time. Mainstream fact. The Atharva Veda, c. 1400 BCE, explicitly names Bhang as a sacred herb used in rituals to invoke divine favor and heal both body and mind. Your proof, your malaria fever broke last year after 3 days of temple bhang, and the priest called it a miracle. You called it Tuesday. Quirky tidbit. In 1894, the British Indian Hemp Drugs Commission interviewed sadhus who claimed to drink bhang daily for decades without harm. Some living past 100. You're one of them, wrinkled as a raisin, but still dancing at 88, crediting Shiva's smoothie. Light joke 1. Shiva walks into a temple. Bartender says, Bhang? Shiva says, make it a double. I've got a universe to destroy. You're a farmer now, 1450 BCE, knee-deep in a cannabis field outside Varanasi. The plants tower over you, sticky with resin that glints like dew. You harvest at dawn, when the THC is highest, slicing stalks with a bronze sickle. The leaves go to the temple for bhang, the fibers to the weaver for your next dhoti. Nothing is wasted. You chew a raw bud for energy, bitter, but it keeps you swinging until noon. Your wife calls from the riverbank, waving a basket of mangoes. You share a cup of fresh bhang under a banyan tree, the world soft and golden. Later, you'll make love in the shade, the plant's gift extending beyond the spiritual. Back at the temple, the night deepens, torches flicker, casting shadows that dance like Nataraja's cosmic dance. You offer a bowl of bhang at Shiva's feet, pouring it over the lingam until it drips like milk. The priest anoints your forehead with the runoff, cool, fragrant, divine. You sit cross-legged, eyes half closed, and meditate. The bhang carries you inward, past the chatter of the courtyard, past the hunger in your belly, to a place where you and Shiva are the same pulse. Time dissolves. You're the river, the drum, the smoke curling from a chillum, passed hand to hand. A sadhu joins you, dreadlocks to his waist, eyes bright as stars. He offers the chillum, clay pipe packed with karas, hand-rolled resin. You inhale, hold, exhale, a cloud that merges with the temple incense. Om Namah Shivaya, he murmurs. You echo it, the mantra vibrating in your chest. The bhang and kharas braid together, milk and fire, earth and sky. You see the universe as a web, every thread cannabis green, every knot a soul. Shiva dances at the center, trampling ignorance underfoot. Joke 2. Sadhu H.R. Manual. Must be willing to relocate consciousness. Benefits include enlightenment and free snacks. You're a bride, 1400 BCE, sipping pang at your wedding. The groom, a potter with kind eyes, drinks too. Your families chant blessings. The priest ties a hemp thread around your wrists, symbol of binding, fertility, strength. The bong makes the vows flow easy, the laughter genuine. Later, in the bridal chamber, the plant eases your nerves. You giggle at the flower garlands, trace his tattoos with sticky fingers. The night is gentle, sacred, endless. By 1300 BCE, you're a healer in a village hut. A mother brings her colicky infant. You mix pang with fennel and ghee, dilute it in milk. The child sleeps. The mother weeps in relief. You treat warriors' wounds with cannabis poultices. Brew it for widow's grief. The temple sends you seeds annually, tax and green. You plant them in sacred soil. Whisper mantras as they sprout. The cycle is divine. Plant, harvest, heal, worship. Maha Shivaratri returns. You fast all day, stomach growling, then break it at midnight with bangs so thick it coats your tongue. The temple is packed, thousands of voices rising in bom bom pole. You climb the steps to the inner sanctum. Offer a coconut, a bell leaf, a cup of bong. The priest pours it over the lingam. You drink the prasad. The high hits like a wave. You're weeping, laughing, bowing. Shiva's trident pierces your ego. What remains is joy. Joke 3. Shiva's fitness routine. 108 sun salutations. 1 pang lasi. Abs of destruction guaranteed. You're a poet, 1200 BCE, composing under a peepal tree. Pang loosens your tongue. Verses spill like monsoon rain. Green goddess, bind my heart with your vines. Lift my soul on your breath. The words feel channeled, not written. You recite at court. The Raja grants you land. You name it Pangavan, Shiva's gift. The British will later ban Pang, calling it degenerate. You laugh from the afterlife. They tried to outlaw joy itself. Sadhus still drink it in secret. Temples still serve it on silver trays. The plant outlives empires. You're old now, joints creaking like temple doors. Your grandson brews your nightly bong, weak but enough. You sip, remember every Shivaratri, every dance, every vision. Shiva waits, patient as the Ganges. You'll meet him soon, cup in hand. Mainstream fact. Bong remains legal in India for religious use, served at government-approved shops during festivals. You're in line at 1/2025, buying a bottle for old time's sake. The temple bells ring. You dance one last time, barefoot, bang in your veins, Shiva in your heart. The courtyard spins. The river sings. The universe laughs. This is enlightenment, milky, sweet, and eternally green. You're perched on a bamboo mat inside a cave high in the misty Wudang Mountains. 1000 BCE. The air so thin, each breath feels like sipping starlight. A single oil lamp flickers, casting shadows that dance across walls etched with yin-yang symbols and crude sketches of immortals riding cranes. You're a Taoist monk, robes patched from hemp cloth. You wove yourself, and the bronze censer before you glows with a mound of burning cannabis incense, resin-rich tops mixed with mugwort and cinnamon. The smoke curls upward in lazy spirals, thick and fragrant, carrying your mind past the cave mouth, where clouds cling to pine trees like lovers. You inhale deeply, eyes half closed, and feel the gates of perception creak open. This isn't recreation, this is alchemy, and the elixir is smoke. Taoist texts call cannabis mafen, the liberator of sin, and you're proving it. The Baopuzi, written centuries later but rooted in your practices, claims burning cannabis helps communicate with spirits and foresee the future. You don't need the book, you're living it. The first draw is earthy, almost bitter, but the second is honeyed. Your heartbeat slows to match the mountain's pulse. The cave walls dissolve. You're floating in the Tao itself, the endless flow where yin and yang swirl like smoke. A spirit, part dragon, part old man, whispers from the haze, balance the fire within. You nod, though your body is miles away. You're not partying. This is discipline wrapped in euphoria. Taoist monks like you seek immortality, not eternal life, but merging with the cosmos. Cannabis is the bridge. You measure it precisely, 3 pinches per session, no more, or you'll wander into forests, hugging clouds and forget to eat. The incense is ritual, not indulgence. You sit in lotus, spine straight, breathing in counts of 8. Inhale, smoke, hold for the void, exhale into oneness. The high isn't escape, it's immersion. The mountain breathes with you. The pines whisper secrets. You see your chi as golden threads, tangled from years of anger, now loosening under the plant's gentle untangling. Mainstream fact, the Baopuzi, c. 320 CE, by Geihong explicitly describes cannabis incense for spiritual vision, confirming Taoist use, dating back to your era. You're holding the original scroll, bamboo slats tied with hemp cord, reading by lamplight as the smoke curls around the characters. Quirky tidbit, in 1970s, excavations at Mawangdui, a Han tomb, yielded silk paintings of immortals surrounded by cannabis-like plants, suggesting the herb was part of elixir recipes. You're mixing one now. Cannabis, cinnabar, ginseng, boiling it in a clay pot over a yak dung fire. The steam smells like enlightenment and poor decisions. Light joke 1. Taoist monk walks into a cave, says, I'll have the usual, smoke, silence, and a side of immortality. You're a novice, 950 BCE, trembling as your master hands you the censer. Breathe the liberator, he says. You do. The world tilts. You see your past lives. A farmer, a soldier, a fish. The master laughs. Good. Now forget them. You try. The smoke helps. By dawn, you're sweeping the cave floor. Ego dissolved like morning mist. The cave is your laboratory. Shelves hold jars of dried buds, resin balls, seed oil. You grind cannabis with pestle and mortar, the sound rhythmic as a heartbeat. The powder goes into incense cakes, pressed with lotus stamens. You burn one during meditation. The smoke fills your lungs, your mind. The valley below, eagles circle overhead, riding thermals you swear you can feel. You're not high, you're aligned. The Tao flows through you, green and fragrant. Joke 2. Confucian visits Taoist cave. This is chaos. Taoist? Exactly. Pass the censor. You're an alchemist, 900 BCE, seeking the elixir of longevity. Cannabis is key. Its cooling nature balances the heating cinnabar. You chew a resin pellet before tending the furnace, where mercury bubbles like liquid starlight. The high steadies your hands. You pour the mixture into a hemp mold. The resulting pill glows faintly. You swallow it with cannabis tea. Visions come, mountains walking, rivers singing. You wake 3 days later, beard longer, eyes clearer. Immortality? Maybe not, but you feel timeless. By 850 BCE, you're teaching disciples in a grove of ancient junipers. You pass the chillum, bamboo pipe packed with charas. Inhale the void, you instruct. They do. One weeps, seeing his mother's face. Another laughs, understanding the joke of existence. You nod. The plant teaches what words cannot. Confucians down in the valleys frown. Cannabis breeds laziness, they say. You smile. Laziness is just another word for flow. The mountain is alive with your practices. You hike at dawn, collecting wild cannabis from crevices where it grows untamed. The buds are small, but potent, kissed by frost. You dry them on hemp mats, the scent drawing deer that nibble and nap. You shoo them gently. Share the mountain, not the stash. At night, you burn incense in the cave, chanting the Tao Te Ching. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The smoke illustrates it, formless, pervasive, gone before you grasp it. Joke 3, Taoist diet. 90% meditation, 10% cannabis. Results? Inner peace and epic munchies. You're a hermit, 800 BCE, living in a cave so remote, even the clouds apologize for intruding. Your only companion is a crane that visits daily. You share cannabis seeds. It pecks, tilts its head, flies off wiser. You burn incense alone. The smoke your conversation with the universe. One night, the dragon spirit returns. You seek immortality. You nod, then die. You laugh. The ultimate Taoist punchline. The smoke carries you to the edge of ego. You step over. Historians still argue whether Taoist cannabis use was widespread or elite. You know the truth. Every monk, every hermit, every wandering sage carried a pouch. The plant was the unspoken sacrament binding you to the way. You're old now, bones creaking like bamboo in wind. Your disciples brew weak cannabis tea for your arthritis. You sip, remember every vision, every dragon, every laugh. The cave smells eternally of smoke and pine. You'll die here, body returning to the mountain, spirit to the Tao. The incense burns low. You inhale one last time, the gates wide open. The crane waits outside. You smile. Time to fly. You're ankle deep in a muddy field, outside a walled city in northern China, 800 BCE. The sun a bronze coin overhead as you strip fibrous stalks of cannabis with a bone knife. The plant towers above you, leaves rustling like 1,000 tiny flags, and every tug releases a sharp green scent that clings to your hemp tunic. Yes, the same plant you're harvesting. You're not here for visions or rituals this time. You're building an empire. One rope, one sail, one scroll at a time. The fibers peel away in long, wet ribbons that you'll dry, beat, and twist into cordage, strong enough to haul a war chariot or bind a prisoner who thought rebellion was a good idea. This is hemp's golden age, the overachieving plant that refuses to be just one thing. Your hands blister, but the work is steady. You bundle the stalks, carry them to the drying racks, bamboo frames draped with more hemp cloth, and lay them in the sun. By tomorrow, they'll be crisp, ready for the retting pit, where water and microbes strip the last flesh from the fiber. You wade into the pit, the stench of decay rising like a bad omen, and agitate the stalks with a wooden paddle. The fibers emerge clean, pale, almost luminous. You rinse them in the river, the current carrying away the chaff, while you hum a work song older than the Zhou dynasty. The river is your lifeline. Hemp is its silent partner. Mainstream fact: the oldest known piece of hemp fabric, dated to 8000 BCE, was found in a Mesopotamian site. But by your era, Chinese hemp textiles are standardized. Uniform weave, durable dye. You're wearing a tunic, woven on a backstrap loom. The cloth so fine, it feels like a whisper against your skin. Quirky tidbit. In 2016, archaeologists uncovered hemp bowstrings in a Qin tomb, still flexible after 2,200 years, outlasting the terracotta warriors they once armed. You're stringing a bow now, waxing the hemp with seed oil until it sings when plucked. The tension is perfect. Your arrow will fly true. Light joke 1. Hemp, the plant that ties your shoes, sails your ship, and writes your taxes. Multitasking before it was cool. You're a rope maker, 750 BCE, in a courtyard smelling of tar and sweat. The fibers are combed, aligned, twisted on a wheel turned by your apprentice. A boy with calluses older than his face. You splice 3 strands into a cable thick as your wrist, strong enough to moor a junk on the Yellow River. The Emperor's navy demands 1,000 zhang by spring. You'll deliver, and the leftover scraps will become fishing nets for the village downstream. Nothing is wasted. You test the rope by hanging your weight from it. Your feet dangle. The fibers don't creak. Satisfaction tastes like dust and victory. By 700 BCE, you're a scribe in the Imperial Archive, dipping a brush into ink made from soot and hemp seed oil. The paper beneath your hand is hemp pulp, beaten, pressed, dried into sheets that won't yellow or tear. You copy edicts. All households must plant 1 mu of hemp for the state. Your strokes are precise, the paper absorbent, the scent faintly herbal. The scroll will outlast the dynasty. Empires crumble, but hemp endures. You seal it with a hemp cord, knot it tight, and hand it to a courier whose saddlebags are woven from the same plant. Joke 2. Paper cut. Blame hemp. It's been slicing fingers since 200 BCE. You're a sailor, 650 BCE, on a junk sliding down the Wei River. The sails are hemp canvas, triple-stitched, oiled against rain. The wind fills them with a snap that echoes like thunder. You coil hemp rope around your arm, the fibers biting into your skin, and lash cargo, silk, jade, bronze mirrors. The rope holds through storms that shred lesser cloths. When you dock in a port city, you trade a bolt of hemp sailcloth for spices that burn your tongue. The plant is currency, silent and green. You're a soldier, 600 BCE, marching with the Zhou army. Your armor is lacquered leather, padded with hemp quilting. Light, flexible, arrow-resistant. Your bowstring is hemp, your quiver strap hemp, your tent hemp. You camp on a hillside, the canvas flapping in the wind, and burn hemp seed oil in a clay lamp to write letters home on hemp paper. The flame is steady, the light warm. You describe the battles, the boredom, the way the plant keeps you alive. Your sandals, woven hemp, carry you 1,000 li without blistering. Historians still argue whether hemp's ubiquity drove Chinese expansion or merely enabled it. You don't care. You're living the infrastructure. The Great Wall's early versions use hemp ropes to haul stones. You're one of the laborers, muscles screaming as you pull in unison, the rope singing under strain. The wall rises, brick by brick, fiber by fiber. You're a fisherman, 550 BCE, on Taihu Lake. Your net is hemp twine, knotted by your wife's nimble fingers. You cast it at dawn, the weights sinking, the floats bobbing. By noon, you haul in carp, thick as your thigh, the net unyielding despite the struggle. You mend tears with hemp thread, the knots tiny and perfect. Your boat's caulking is hemp fiber mixed with pine resin, watertight, flexible. The plant is your livelihood, your legacy. Joke 3. Hemp, the original Swiss Army knife, except it opens minds instead of bottles. You're a merchant, 500 BCE, caravanning along Proto-Silk Road trails. Your camels carry bolts of hemp cloth, ropes coiled like serpents, sacks of seeds. You trade in a Sogdian bazaar, the air thick with cumin and horse sweat. A Persian buys your rope for his siege engines. An Indian takes your cloth for sacred banners. You accept payment in lapis, silver, glass beads. The hemp funds your next journey, the cycle unbroken. By 450 BCE, you're a papermaker in a workshop by the river. You soak retted fibers in a vat, beat them with mallets until they're pulp. You lift a bamboo screen, the slurry spreading thin and even. You press, dry, peel away a sheet smooth as silk. The emperor's edicts will be written on this. Laws, poems, tax records. You test it with a brush. The ink doesn't bleed. You smile. The plant has become memory. You're a woman, 400 BCE, weaving bridal veils in a village square. The hemp is bleached white, fine as spider silk. You embroider lotuses with dyed thread, green from cannabis leaves. Ironically, the bride will wear it, the fibers symbolizing strength, fertility, endurance. You smoke a pinch of chaff in your pipe at dusk, the veil shimmering in the lamplight. The plant binds lives as surely as it binds fibers. You're old now, hands gnarled, like the ropes you once twisted. Your grandson asks why everything is hemp. You laugh, teeth stained from seed oil. Because it works, you say, pointing to the tunic he wears, the net he'll fish with, the paper he'll learn on. The plant is quiet, persistent, essential. Empires rise on its back, armies march in its embrace. You die in a hemp bed, shrouded in hemp, your will written on hemp paper. The cycle closes, the plant endures. You're squatting on a reed mat in a dim Egyptian workshop, 1500 BCE, the air thick with the smell of natron and fermenting beer. A clay bowl steams in front of you, frothy, dark, and laced with crushed cannabis leaves. You're a brewer for the pyramid workers, 20,000 men who haul limestone under a sun that could fry an egg on a papyrus leaf. And this is their afternoon ration. One sip, and the world softens. The ache in your lower back from hauling grain sacks fades. The foreman's shouting becomes a distant gull's cry, and the great pyramid itself seems to pulse like a living heart. You call the brew Shemshemet, the follower of the heart, and it follows you everywhere, into the quarries, into the tombs, into the afterlife. The recipe is simple, but sacred. You soak barley in the Nile until it sprouts, dry it in the sun, grind it coarse. Then you add cannabis, leaves, flowers, sometimes resin scraped from your fingers after harvest. You boil it in a copper cauldron, strain through hemp cloth, let it ferment in sealed jars buried in sand. The result is bitter, green, and potent. You taste each batch, adjusting the cannabis like a musician tuning a lyre. Too little and the workers grumble, too much, and they lie in the shade, singing to the Sphinx. Balance is everything. Mainstream fact, the Ebers Papyrus, c. 1550 BCE, lists cannabis, shemshemt, as a treatment for inflammation, glaucoma, and cooling the uterus. You're living the prescription. Your wife brewed it for her labor pains, and the child came out screaming, but healthy. Quirky tidbit. In 2020, residue in a New Kingdom tomb pipe tested positive for cannabis and opium. Ancient Egyptians were mixing their highs like craft cocktails. You're holding that pipe now, a slender reed wrapped in gold leaf, still sticky with 3,000-year-old resin. Light joke 1. Egyptian HR policy, 12-hour shifts, 1 beer break, 0 mummies harmed. Thanks to cannabis. You're a quarryman, 1490 BCE. Muscles like knotted rope from dragging sledges across sand. The foreman hands you a clay cup at noon. You drink, the beer fizzing on your tongue, and suddenly the 2.5-ton block you're hauling feels like a papyrus scroll. You chant in rhythm, heave, ho, heave, ho, the cannabis sinking your heartbeat to the cruise. The overseer marks tally strokes on a limestone flake. 100 blocks today, 100 cups of shemshemet. The math is brutal, but fair. By 1400 BCE, you're a scribe in the house of life, copying medical texts on hemp papyrus hybrid sheets. Your ink is soot, gum arabic, and a drop of cannabis seed oil to keep it flowing. You write, to drive away the heat of the womb, grind cannabis with honey and insert. The priest-physician nods. He used it on the pharaoh's daughter last month. You seal the scroll with a hemp cord, the knot tight as a promise. Joke 2. Egyptian pickup line. Your eyes are like the Nile at dawn. Want to share a beer and see the pyramid spin? You're a midwife, 1350 BCE, in a mud brick birthhouse by the Temple of Hathor. The laboring woman screams. You press a cannabis-soaked cloth to her lower back, brew a tea of leaves and mint. She drinks, her face relaxing, the contractions easing into a rhythm she can ride. The child crowns, dark hair, strong lungs. You wrap the infant in a hemp swaddling cloth, the fibers soft from 100 washings. The mother whispers thanks. You whisper back, the plant did the work. The plant is everywhere. Your sandals, woven hemp soles, your fishing net, knotted hemp twine, your sail on the Nile boat, hemp canvas, dyed indigo, even the mummies. Embalmers stuff cavities with cannabis resin to preserve the organs. You're apprentice to one now, 1300 BCE, learning to pack a noble's chest with natron and green paste. The smell is sharp, sweet, eternal. You joke that the dead will wake up hungry. You're a priest of Sekhmet, 1250 BCE, in a temple of red granite. You burn cannabis incense before the lioness goddess, smoke curling around her snarling face. The fumes calm the heat of her wrath. You inhale, eyes watering, and feel her power flow into you. You anoint patients with cannabis oil, rubbing it into tumors, glaucoma-blind eyes, inflamed joints. Some heal, some don't. The plant is no god, but it's a good messenger. Joke 3. Egyptian pharmacy. Take 2 beers and call me in the afterlife. You're a tomb painter, 1200 BCE, in the Valley of the Kings. The air is cool. The walls smooth plaster. You mix pigments with cannabis seed oil, ochre, malachite, lapis, until they flow like liquid light. You paint scenes of the afterlife, the deceased hunting in the field of reeds, cannabis plants growing tall beside lotus pools. The oil keeps the colors vivid for millennia. You work by lamplight, the cannabis calming your hand, so every stroke is perfect. The pharaoh will judge you in the duet. You want him impressed. By 1100 BCE, you're a merchant sailing to Byblos for cedar. Your hold is packed with hemp rope, canvas, and jars of Shemshemet beer. Payment for the Phoenicians. They taste it, eyes widening, and offer you a princess in marriage. You laugh, take the cedar, and sail home richer. The plant opens doors the Nile never could. You're old now, 1000 BCE, joints creaking like papyrus in wind. Your grandson brews weak cannabis beer for your gout. You sip, remember every quarry, every birth, every tomb. The Great Pyramid stands finished. The pharaoh's long dead, but the plant endures. You'll be mummified with a pouch of seeds, provisions for the journey. The embalmers promise you'll wake up smiling. The Nile flows on, green and eternal. Somewhere, a new brewer crushes leaves into a fresh batch. The cycle never ends.